Hello, everybody.
Can't hold them.
Welcome to 192 Books. We are here to celebrate the reissue of Leanne Shapton's Swimming Studies by Picador, and she'll be here in conversation with Cecily Brown. I'm going to do a short introduction, read their bios, but this event is streaming on our YouTube channel and archived at PCG Studio. We have Leanne's book and Cecily's new book also here for sale, and they'll stick around to sign them afterwards. Leanne Shapton is an author, artist, illustrator, and publisher based in New York City. She is currently the art editor at the New York Review of Books. She is a co-founder with photographer Jason Fulford of J&L Books. Shapton is a fellow of the Royal Canadian Geographical Society. She grew up in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada. Shapton is the author of 9 books, including Swimming Studies, which won the 2012 National Book Critics Circle Award for Autobiography, and is longlisted for the William Hill Sport Book of the Year 2012. And Cecily Brown is one of the most celebrated artists working in painting today. Brown draws from the compositional structure, historical motifs, and virtuosic brushwork of master painters across a diverse range of genres. Recent notable one-person exhibitions include Cecily Brown, The Five Senses at Paula Cooper Gallery, Death and the Maid at MoMA, and The Triumph of... Oh, wow. It says Met here, too. At the Met, and The Triumph of Death at the Museo Real Bosco di Capodimonte. A survey of Brown's work, themes and variations, is on view at the Barnes Foundation and available here again for sale. I'll pass on to Cecily. Thank you.
I want to say something first. This means a lot. This book was out of print for a long time. The fact that Picador brought it back meant a lot to me. The fact that Cecily remembered that means a lot to me. And this is my favorite bookstore. Cecily is one of my favorite painters. So thanks for having us. I'm excited to, and thanks for coming. Cecily and I wore bathing suits.
Yeah, we wore bathing suits. So I know you're going to start by reading something, Leanne. But we decided, well, no, you should read something first and then we'll start talking.
Okay, just to get in.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God, the swimming metaphors, I'm going to keep them to a minimum. Okay, I'm going to bounce around a little bit in the book based on a few things that Cecil and I will talk about, like pain and practice and pain and paint. And I'm just going right into this one part on page 222. The idea of specialness occurs to me one night when I can't sleep, that as good athletes, we defined ourselves as special, then submitted to a routine in which we did exactly as we were told. I think of the limitations that specialness requires, doing a series of very unspecial things very well, over and over, 1,000,000 times over, so that one special thing might happen maybe much later. So I think to myself, at 4 a.m., face squashed into my pillow, specialness is sanctioned, rigorous unspecialness. An unexpected feeling of relief flows over me and then dissipates as I start grinding my teeth. During the last third of the Magic Mountain, I start to think about how the body bestows specialness in prowess and illness. Both involve enduring some kind of pain. When Hans Castorp's uncle flees Berghof Sanatorium, escaping the calm smug of the ill, the unspotless man, or his translator at least, describes his afflicted nephew's attitude as callous. A number of times, I recognize the description and the feeling of superiority the special have toward those they consider but also a callus, a hardened patch of skin formed by repetitive motion. Does specialness beget callousness, or does the mind conjure specialness? Does the mind follow the matter of the body into specialness? What separates rigor and brilliance? While watching the French Open one morning on television, I leave my chair and walk toward the kitchen. John McEnroe's commentating, and as I put the kettle on, I hear him mention that Rafael Nadal is playing through a sprained ankle. And I remember the blunt fact that when I was training, I was in constant pain. Not just the sharp pain in my knees, which was taken seriously, but a dull, steady pain in my arms, backs, shoulders. Pain when I sat down, pain when I got up, pain when I leaned back in a chair, when I reached for the salt or sharpened a pencil. Thinking of stoic Nadal, I remembered how I ignored, then eventually forgot about pain when I raced, and even to some degree during practice. It was as though pain on land was there to remind me to get back in the water, where after a certain threshold, the pain went away. For an athlete, pain is not a deterrent because the only place the pain will be eclipsed is in practice or in competition. Watching some hip-hop dancers on TV, a friend asks me, why is it so fun and satisfying to see a group of people do exactly the same thing? And I think about this, how we apprehend the life of the special body, choreographed movement, dance, planes flying in formation. It is satisfying, but also like watching something defy gravity, or more specifically, defy the wilderness of our bodies in time. All that work, and then finally something levitates. When the minute stresses of practice fade, the specialness emerges. There's a quotation from On Directing Film by David Mamet that I underlined in 1993 and have never forgotten. Stanislavski wrote that the difficult will become easy and the easy habitual, so that the habitual may become beautiful. Glenn Gould explained his love of the recording studio and described it as an environment where the magnetic compulsion of time is suspended, well, warped at the very least. It's a vacuum, in a sense, a place where one can properly feel that the most horrendously constricting force of nature, the inexorable linearity of time, has been, to a remarkable extent, circumvented. That's Gould. But I thought a few of these things sort of worked into the convergence that I try to get at in the book, which is athletic practice and artistic practice. And Cecily is a very embodied painter. Her paintings are so energetic, so it's fun to talk to you about these things. Your turn.
Yeah, I read your book. I read this book pretty much when it first came out, I think, and we knew each other a little bit. But when we spoke recently, you said, "Oh, well, I remember being surprised that you'd read it," because I was kind of surprised that I read it because. Wait,
Oh, yeah,
and I remember I recommended it, didn't I? I was asked to do my book of the year or something. Sorry. And sorry, it's just a bit awkward being next to you, and I'm trying to kind of look at you. But yeah, I'm a terrible swimmer, and but I loved this book so much. For those of you who haven't read it, you must read it immediately, because it's so visual, and it gets into a world that, unless you're an athlete, you probably know nothing about. And it really, talking of the five senses, it's, you know, all the senses are in there all the time. You can literally open it at random and find some wonderful passage. But Leanne's a very, very visual writer. And it sort of meanders between, it goes from back in time with her and her brother Derek swimming when they're young in Canada but the incredibly vivid descriptions of these swim meets and the buses when you all go away, and the subterranean world that you're in. But the discomfort, for me, who hates the idea, I've never gone skiing, I hate being uncomfortable and cold. Growing up in England, the thought of being cold and damp for hours is just awful. And you had we're wearing many layers of clothes because Leanne has these incredible descriptions of getting dressed in the cold in Canada when she's young, and sort of having to put on a damp suit from the night before, and they have to wear two suits, I guess, to slow you down and get your times right for your drag. And then putting on sweatpants under the covers because it's so cold, and sort of putting all these layers on. And just even the idea of this itchy and uncomfortableness of all these layers, for what? And but this discipline has obviously molded you as a person. And, you know, the obvious thing to talk about is the discipline of a sport as compared to a discipline as an artist, and what do they have in common and what are completely different.
Yeah, well, that's what I want to ask you. I mean, I know that, you know, how I trained was as an athlete, but how I want to apply that training is as an artist and writer, and so I just overwrite in order to overpaint, overdraw. I mean, just do series and series so that one or two of those might be okay. But I wondered how someone who was trained differently. I mean, you sort of self-trained and you had your garage, and but how you may relate if you do at all. Yeah.
I mean, when the word discipline comes up, I never really think it applies to painting so much because, and my question is it discipline if it's something you actually really want to be doing? Because, I think showing up for your work, you obviously have to have a discipline where you work every day when you, especially when you're young. Now I kind of have to take, once you have kids, if you take weekends off maybe, but when you're young, you never should take a day off, in my opinion.
Right.
And I guess that's a discipline.
Absolutely.
But for me, it didn't ever seem like a discipline so much because it was my favorite place to be. And even when painting's really difficult, it's not like it's always a flow and I'm like, oh my God, thank God I'm here. But I am still, even at this age and having worked for so long, still always excited to get to the studio. And if I think, if I've got a day with nothing else happening, it's like feels like a red letter day, which is obviously.
Is that though the equivalent to the physical pain? I wondered if that it's not going right. Is there an equivalent to the physical pain, the hours put in, or the times you want to be there but it's not going right? Or
I mean, it is very physical, which I think people don't talk about a lot, especially if you work larger.
Yeah.
I mean, it does take a toll on your body after a while, but I think that's also part of the joy of it, is that you're physically very involved. And like being an athlete, it's painting is not being an artist in other mediums necessarily, but painting is very dependent on your mind and body being in tune, and that your body being good at doing what your mind tells it to do.
Yeah, that's what I want to understand, because I think that's like, if I don't know if do you have a moment when there is flow, when the the equivalent would be when the water feels so smooth and you're going and you're getting. I mean, is there a what's the word?
I mean, I want to talk about you first of all.
No, I'm
but
not.
There's one passage. There's this wonderful passage where you're going back and forth doing laps, and that really reminded me of painting and the kind of thing of, doing the sort of slog, doing it hour in, hour out. But especially when you don't really think it's going well, and you're just sort of physically there, but you're just like, oh, this isn't really working. And sometimes you feel you're making everything worse and worse as you go along. But with swimming, I mean, I know you don't want to just talk about swimming, but how? No, but this fantastic passage of the different things that are in your head, from the banal to the sublime and back. When people sort of think, I think people ask, what do you think about when you're painting? And it's usually very banal, isn't it? And it can just be the same as, house painting or, cleaning, doing, I think it's any repetitive task. But that you'll go, as I said, from the sublime to the most banal in the same 10 seconds. But did you find, when you were swimming competitively, will you have these tricks really to train your brain? Like you envisage yourself swimming your race.
The visualization.
Yes, you visualize a race before you do it, and you even time that race. Yeah. But is there anything from that discipline that you've been able to bring to writing and painting?
The slog part, the meet day idea of there is something at the end of it, and even if the meet day, the meet day possibly being whether it's a good piece of writing or an assignment, a completion, a sort of a finish line, I guess is the metaphor. But in terms of that, I mean, it's meditative, but it's not like you're trying to empty your mind. You're thinking of everything.
Swimming,
the laps. Sorry, the laps. And yeah, I do think that I probably don't let my mind wander as much when I'm writing or painting as I did when I was swimming. Maybe I should.
Painting, I think, is good. But writing, no. I mean, I don't know how anyone writes. I mean, I think part of the desire to be in the studio is really to be able to access that place where the mind goes when you're very free.
Well, here's a question, because coaches.
Oh.
So you have mentors as painters, you have teachers as painters. How does that relationship play out? Do you want to please them as much as a swimmer or an athlete does their coach? Do people put as much pressure on? How does it work when it comes to that?
I mean,
mentoring.
I was just looking, there's this passage about coaches, which is quite chilling, really, actually.
Coaches are chilling. I mean, they're just, I have a big bone.
I actually, I put so many, I turned down so many pages that now I can't find it, but there's something like, you're very young, that's the difference. I mean, I think if you're young, as a young painter, and you have a sort of mentor, someone you look up to, they're not physically in your space. But the thing that you said is like
naked.
The coach is looking over you, looking down on you while you're wet, naked, tired. Your brain is, and they're usually a guy, and we weren't going to go dark so quickly, I thought. I guess time goes really quickly. No, we don't have much time. So I don't know what you want to say about that.
Well, I mean,
I mean, with the pain, the discomfort, the coach, the being yelled at, I mean, I think you'd have PTSD from all this. And it is quite, you said the other day that you thought maybe organised sport would be banned one day.
Well, I mean, I think organised sport needs some kind of comeuppance just because of the amount of abuse that is just commonplace. In swimming in particular, there's this strange correlation to training horses and swim coaches, and a lot of famous swim coaches also train horses, and it just got me thinking sort of rocking horse winner, just like horses as the way we treat horses. If we shouldn't treat them the way we do, and when we do treat people the way we treat horses, it's just patently wrong. And that's how coaches teach and coach children. I mean, they're children, and children are in such a vulnerable position, and coaches are, again, it's a profession that attracts predators often. And
do you wish you hadn't done it ever?
No, I'm glad I did it so I can attack it. So I can complain now or something, just because I know how wrong it is. I mean, I had experiences with 2 coaches that were now banned from coaching because of statutory rape and abuse and sexual abuse. So that's normal. Every swimmer has one of those. Every gymnast has that. Runners have it. It's such an abusive thing. That said, it's incredible to learn a discipline early. It's incredible to feel you can do something like that weird specialness. But yeah, coaches, like any power, is a problem.
Yeah, it sort of begs the question: why is someone drawn to that job? It's I mean, in England, all the PE teachers were awful. Growing up in the 70s and 80s. Yeah. I'm aware that we don't actually have very much time.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I don't
How
want
are we
to
doing
move along.
Because I want to talk about competition, competition with, because artistic competition is never really talked about, and whether it's, not necessarily talking about monetary or fame, but just the heat you want to be in, who you want to compete against.
And what's so interesting with you know your time, you know someone else's time, and it's very clear who's winning.
Yeah,
whereas obviously in the art world, it's a lot more nuanced. And you can with painting, without the eyes of the world, but just for oneself. You can feel like you're winning on a day where it turns out you were just making a mess, and you can really feel you're losing on a day when actually things are happening, interesting things. Yeah. So I guess it's a bit more nuanced than a race. But I loved running when I was a kid, and I was always very competitive with that. I just gave up much younger than you did. But really, in England in the 80s, like, sport was sort of always thought of as the opposite of art, I feel like. Yeah. But you do, of course, need incredible discipline of mind.
And belief in yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, absolute belief in yourself.
There was we were saying about how you cover all the senses.
Oh yeah, because I want to.
And there's this wonderful. Sorry, I keep saying wonderful, but there's this great description of you swimming, and the way that the sound goes loud and quiet, loud and quiet, loud and quiet, and then there'll be these flashes of the ads and the posters and the other swimmers, but it's very, very vivid and well painted.
It's like a slow
but one of my
scroll,
favorite things in the book is, and I realize smell is something, because I made these paintings about the five senses, and of course scent or smell is almost the hardest thing to record.
We'll talk just for a second, please, about the five senses and that piece.
As usual, I just stole the idea from someone else. It was Rubens and Bruegel had done a series of paintings of the five senses, and I'd seen them many, many years ago. I can't even remember what started me on them this time around. I'd sort of done a few copies. Smell, do you think?
I think I do.
Some of these sound like perfume descriptions, though. I mean, I suppose that's the idea, but you should,
that nose thing.
Yes.
Or the sommelier. Apparently women make better sommeliers than men. Oh. Just saying.
There's a great passage towards the end where you're casually swimming. There are these moments when you casually swim, and you it's kind of that you're freaked out by bodies of water that aren't pools.
Oh God.
And you said that this is quite common to pool
swimmers. Yeah.
So what happens?
I think it's scale. I think it's this idea of depth. Open water swimming scares the bejesus out of me. And it is this idea of there's the idea of the kind of abyss, and then there's the idea of being in water next to something big that goes up and down, and so down so that invisible, like just black. And so I think it's an idea of scale and visibility. It's a fear of the dark, I think. But I do love swimming in lakes and pools, but I close my eyes if I go under the water. I don't want to see it. Do you?
I can't swim underwater. That's why I felt I finally swam through you, Leanne, because I swam in your pool. I was trying to imagine swimming underwater the other day when I was trying to fall asleep, and I can't really imagine it
it's
properly because I've not really done it.
It's weirdly noisier than you'd think. It's not because of all the bubbles and the audio. This one coach used to play Rod Stewart. He got banned. He was banned. He used to play Rod Stewart. The synchronized swimmers would have speakers under the water, and he used to pump Rod Stewart during our practices, which wasn't too bad. But
in retrospect, it sounds creepy. There's so many different good things to dip into here, like the paint. There's this whole section about Leanne's different swimsuits. And their history and where they were bought, and you have a special one.
I have a special one I wore for just you guys. It's okay. So first of all, imagine what you're wearing now, but the bathing suit's damp. Yeah. And just like this, and there's a famous
your brother had something called IBC,
itchy bum syndrome,
or IB club, itchy bum club.
Itchy bum club. Because if you wear a damp bathing suit next to your skin for any period of time, it's so itchy. But I have a very special one that doesn't appear in the book. It's the 1976 Montreal Olympics. Woo! Bathing suit. But the thing that Cecily and I talked about is and I think we're just sort of quietly, visually talking about this now in nonverbal ways, there was something so important about how jocks dressed and how we dressed as swimmers, which was the long sleeve under the short sleeve and the long pants under the shorts, and the bathing suit pulled down because otherwise the two suits,
sometimes
three, otherwise it would cut into your shoulders. So there was a whole sartorial kind of grace that I think athletes
you were coming of age, like this was your puberty, right?
Yeah.
So you looked like a boy when it all started, but you had a sort of erotic awakening by the side of the pool. There's a passage where you describe seeing boys in their clothes.
Oh, yeah.
And that's very compelling for you to see them.
Exactly.
The boys that you're used to seeing naked in their trunks all the time.
Yeah, that was so
and how you're also so comfortable in a pool, like to this day. And I know we're going to open it to questions in a second, but one of my favorite bits is about the ladies' pond, the Hampstead ladies' pond.
Have you swum
anyone
there?
who's spent time in London. I have. It's very, very special. It's wild. But so the book goes back and forth in time, sort of from these very intense swim meets and so on, to swimming in later life, and always describing the swimsuit worn.
Yeah,
and where it was
that's
bought.
the section.
Can I just tell you where I got this swimsuit?
Yeah.
So it was in Dallas, and I couldn't find a swimsuit to save my life. I hadn't, of course, thought that.
What were you doing in Dallas?
Oh, funny you should ask. No, my show that's now at the Barnes was in Dallas before.
Okay.
So I was in Dallas installing, and it turned out the hotel had a pool. And as an English person, you never assume that there'll be a pool. Or I'm just, swimming isn't on my radar. So, but anyway, the person I was traveling with said, well, we've got to go swimming. And of course I didn't have a suit. But it took me half a day in Dallas to find a suit. Went to Neiman Marcus, the original Neiman Marcus, which is since closing down. But we found one in a little hotel. But I actually really like this.
It's a good suit.
And I just getting I hope I was going, when I find a suit, it's going to be horrible. And anyway, this has become my favorite suit.
I have it. Got too many.
But yeah, I like the way you go from sort of light to heavy and back, and as you say, going in and out of the water. The book's kind of got a similar rhythm, so buy it and tell all your friends, because it's really a great swim.
Thank you. Thanks, Cecily. That's why I like your art. It goes in and out and in and out. Buy it. We will take questions, because I like questions. They're fun. Are we good for time? You're great on time. Okay, all right. Or not.
And you can also have, if you'd like to read another bit first before questions, I think people would like that. Oh, sorry, I put you on the spot.
No, what should I read? Any requests?
Well, something about Jaws.
Jaws.
Because you're scared of sharks too, aren't you?
Oh, yeah, because they're in open water.
Right. Or carb loading. I don't know. There were just so many things I didn't know about.
The language around it, like lung busters, carb loading.
Yeah.
Like there's so much, all that junk.
I mean, it is interesting to go
so
there.
Funny.
Somewhere else weird is the way, one's relationship to your body, especially as a young
to food and body
person growing up and just getting, like, using your body as a tool so brutally and relentlessly.
There's also
that must have been really intense. Your body's changing, and
I know puberty is just crazy, especially for swimmers, because your whole body, you're just this little aerodynamic thing, and then you become an adult, and you're slightly punished for it on top of all the punishing that happens.
You still have pain, I believe. Yeah.
Pain is always.
I had no idea, like watching the Olympics, I had no idea how much pain all these people were in.
Oh, I had to take, I was 15 and they're like, 8 aspirin a day. Oh, yeah. I know. That was, but he was.
Oh, I know one more thing I was going to say. The only thing that I know you do this too, but the gym, for me, that's discipline.
Oh, yeah.
That's similar to, like, I don't want to go, but I have to go. Like, force yourself to go as a thing, and just it has to be part of your life. But for me, it's that is more like what you did then. I mean, just to physically make yourself do something you don't particularly want to. Because the other surprise for me was how often you just really didn't want to be there at all.
Hated it.
Yeah.
It doesn't. I don't love a workout.
Right.
I just Yeah.
And do you find the Jaws?
I found the Jaws. Okay. Okay. Well, I'll read this. Okay. Remember Quint from Jaws? Quint, y'all know me, know how I earn a living. I'll catch this bird for you, but it ain't gonna be easy. Bad fish. It's not like going down to the pond chasing bluegills or tommycods. This shark, swallow you whole. Little shaking, little tenderizing, down you go. Do you remember that scene where he does the? It's such a good movie. Okay, so Jaws the movie. Okay, I'll start here. Jaws the movie is about a man-eating monster. Jaws the novel is about marriage. The shark is a metaphor for infidelity in the shape of Matt Hooper, a wealthy scallop-eating oceanographer. This is in the novel. As the great white glides predatorily along the shoreline looking for food, the oceanographer seduces Chief Brody's wife. Peter Benchley describes the somehow more sordid act of Ellen Brody shaking bath powder, talcum powder, into the cups of her bra and her pumps before he details their tryst, a sloshy lunch followed by sex in a motel room. Then he describes how Ellen remembers the scene. It was a vision of Hooper, eyes wide and staring, but unseeing, at the wall as he approached climax. The eyes seemed to bulge until just before release. Ellen had feared they might pop out of their sockets. Hooper's teeth were clenched, and he ground them the way people do during sleep. Even after his obvious violent climax, Hooper's countenance had not changed. His teeth were still clenched, his eyes still fixed on the wall, and he continued to pump madly. Just read the sex scene from Jaws. The novel's so different because in Spielberg's Jaws, there's a little bit of like hanky-panky between Chief Brody and Ellen, but it's all about the three men and the monster. Okay, Jaws the movie is one of my favorites. As always, Spielberg casts the spell of suburban American life perfectly. I like his dining scenes in particular. Richard Dreyfuss is Roy Neary, mounding his mashed potatoes in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, then is Matt Hooper helping himself greedily to the wine and Brody's leftovers in Jaws. Elliot ordering pizza, E.T. spilling milk. Spielberg's messy tables and Twilight kitchen counters are the stomachs of his players externalized. They expose our own appetites for safety and familial security. Seeing his characters eating anticipates the inevitability of something consuming them. While Spielberg's Jaws is man versus beast, not a love interest in sight, the pretty girl gets gobbled 5 minutes in. Benchley's is about man versus sexy beast. In the book, the shark threatens the prosaic town the way infidelity threatens our tidily framed ideas of marriage. It is part of nature. It is painful. It is down there. It goes on, but yeah. I want to see Jaws now. Okay, any questions? Any questions? Start.
I'm going to fish a question. So I loved what you were saying. I love the book, and I love that you used all your senses and all the available ways of telling a story to tell your story, which is super inspiring and amazing. But you were talking about this idea of coaches and how they have so much power, but they also push you, and there's this goal. And I'm an artist, but I also teach students.
Mm-hmm.
And I often wonder about this idea of like pushing them too hard, and art is so subjective, and I feel like nowadays it feels like you will break someone and you will kind of like not let them, I don't know. Anyway, the question is more, do you think for greatness these kind of pushing needed, and is greatness even necessary, or is something else necessary? I don't know. You know.
Right. No, well, it gets to... So the question was, is greatness necessary? Sorry.
Kind of training. So there's this training, but there's this clear goal, right? And you have to win. But in art, how do you win? Like, what's winning, right?
Right.
What are you pushing them towards?
I think it's talent, whether it's artistic or athletic. One might recognize talent as a teacher, as a coach, as a parent even. And I think it really is the nurturing of talent, and giving that person or child a sort of belief in themselves that might help them achieve what they believe is greatness, and might touch us all at a later time. But it's
How old are the kids?
Yeah, how old are your students?
Oh, push them.
But it feels like sometimes even then they are old, right?
Well, there's also scales. Like there are, like, say it's art. You need to learn how to draw. The way that a musician, there's just scales. The way that a swimmer, you gotta get a good stroke technique. There's just things that have to. I mean, maybe this sounds, trad, but there really is a certain amount of foundation, a certain amount of. Drawing was absolutely fundamental with a pencil, not with a stick and like eraser, white paper, pencil, sharpen your pencil. None of this like interpretive stuff. There's no, you just have to learn how to look. So, and I did need a drawing teacher who was very, very hard on me.
Is that the person who you did the illustration internship with?
Yeah.
And he told you, what did he say?
He said you're crap. He was basically like, you don't know how to draw. And I was just making it look good.
But I was so pleased when I read
different.
that, because I do think probably now, I mean, not to hark on the old days where you could be brutal to people, but I do think artists should be told, first of all, if you don't actually really have to do this, just do something else. There are plenty of jobs in the art sphere or culture sphere. Like, don't be an artist or writer unless you really have to do it. Otherwise, it's nice to do the training and, as a hobby, but if you really want to be an artist, like, it's not really fun. And very few people will do well at it.
Sports aren't fun.
And the competition is, so I think you should be their coach in a way. I mean, I don't know. It's very, very delicate to talk about, isn't it? Because you don't want to yell at the kid who's, very fragile and ruin their life. On the other hand, I am of a generation, like, if you can't stand the heat, like, you probably shouldn't be doing this. I mean, the Yale pit crit, famously hadn't, it's all about making people cry. You don't have to be sadistic, and it's horrible to make people cry in front of other students. But also, they've obviously got to learn to talk, defend their work, and
athletes have been crying.
I think little kids,
always. Yeah. I mean,
I love your piece though. You had this bit about how artists and
goggles.
writers, we have these blocks, and they go on about not being able to work. But with an athlete, you just suck it up. It's like,
there's I can't practice today. I have sports block.
Yeah, I know. No, it's like
no, shut up.
No, exactly. And how much do you want this?
And they, yeah.
And that's why I think it's such a good metaphor for artists. Sometimes we forget, because especially visual art is kind of, you don't relate. I always tell them about dancing, right? It's like dancers have inscribed in them that they have to really train in order to dance anything, right? Like, to forget about their training, they have to first train, right?
I mean, I think the best advice, or I was told as a young artist, you have to show up every day. You can't do this part-time. And, it was fantastic that I had someone so bossy around who told me, like a real artist who said...
Who was that?
It was Maggie Hambling, who was my teacher in the years when I didn't get into art school for a few years, and I went to her life drawing classes. But, and then eventually, I worked for her for a bit.
So important.
Cleaning her house and looking after her cats, not doing anything. But then she lent me her garage as my first studio, and she was a huge I wouldn't have got into art school without her. And but yeah, she was really fierce and tough, and like, and it was actually great when she lent me the garage to work in. I was like, she was so fierce, and I'm like, I've got to get there. And you do want to please her. Of course, I wanted to please her and show that I was worthy of her making this. Yeah. Like you said, it was heartbreaking when your coach, someone said, Brett's mad at you or something.
Yeah,
That's
Mitch.
So awful, Mitch.
You just want to please your
And it's like, oh, Mitch loves you, and then Mitch is mad at you. So it's just awful. But I can imagine Maggie being mad at me. I'd have just been like, oh my God, I'm not a real artist.
Yeah. Anything else out there? Yeah.
I'm a swimmer. Probably have the opposite. I'm an adult onset marathon open.
Wow.
Pools scare me. No, I spend a lot of time in pools.
Yeah.
I recently had an accident that killed my season, shoulder dislocation.
Oh.
Yeah, which leaves in question whether I'll ever do that again. So I wanted to ask you if you had experiences like that, and how did you deal with them?
An injury, you mean, or something that knocked you out of?
Not one that I sprained my knee and I'm just not going to kick for a week or so.
Yeah.
Really.
No, I quit. I quit.
Then I'll ask the next question.
Okay.
Aspiring artist, how did you transition from
Yeah.
to an artist?
Well, that again is kind of what the book is about, and how I relied on my training as an athlete to guide me into what I wanted to accomplish, see, master, do as a writer and a painter. And it's just repetition. It is just showing up. But yeah, injuries are brutal. But there's this thing, it just made me think of this one thing that was fascinating. I can't remember what Olympics it was, but really recently, there's a Chinese relay team, and they lost, even though they're expected to win, and they lost badly. And of course, there's this, interviewer at the end of the lane, and they were all huffing and puffing, and the interviewer just turned to one of the swimmers and said, like, "That must be so disappointing. What happened?" She was like, "I'm on my period." It was just like the physical body can you're at the mercy, and women are at the mercy of their bodies at the most crucial times in their life. But I love that no one had ever said that before on at the Olympics. It was this moment of totally. Yeah, but just quite, it was kind of fantastic. I love all the stuff that I love when athletes aren't so stoic sometimes, when their anger comes out, when just how they've been abused comes out, and Simone Biles standing up and saying, like, yeah, I'm out, like, I'm actually putting myself at risk at the Tokyo Olympics, was incredible. And that's this watershed moment of athletes kind of standing up for themselves, which is
pulled myself out because situations were so dangerous.
sharks. Sorry.
We're not really that
Getting
tasty.
150 yards away from your support boat in the middle of the Subaru Channel,
Yeah.
and things like that,
Yeah.
where you know that you can never reach it, and then looking up at the boat and saying, even though I had a great crew, there was nobody on that boat that's going to rescue me.
Yeah. Wow.
So having to make swims you train for a year, but having to decide that that's it, come get me, I'm out.
Yeah.
Totally. And injuries right here in Manhattan coming around.
Oh wow.
But so the transition really, because you don't know what the future.
Just apply all that practice to something else, and it'll be fine.
But Leanne, had you always drawn as a child and painted?
Yeah.
So, and your father was actually a
industrial designer.
Yeah. So there's a passage where you go and stand at his big drawing table, and that obviously made a big impression on you. And all the tools of his trade and the supplies and things are obviously very seduced by as a little girl.
Yeah.
But I think you have a natural hand, obviously, and a talent, whatever your illustrating teacher said. But it was good that he told you, go work harder. I mean, and I'm grateful to other people. Sorry, I'm going back to your question because I'm no, sorry.
Go. Oh wait, Terrence is.
No, I lost my thread.
No, I think they're really
Naiad, the movie Naiad, in relation to what you said.
You
you mentioned that the other day, so
something
to do with.
I got to write about it in I work at the New York Review of Books. Talk about rigor. I'm sorry, those editors.
Did you see the movie Naiad?
I have a big problem with Diana.
Yeah, well, let's talk about it.
I could give my card with a website about blowing up her claims.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I mean, but you know what's at the heart of it? I'm sorry. She was abused when she was 14.
Right. No.
I mean, I'm sorry, and we're taught to lie about sexual abuse, and she has manufactured a lot of facts, and it's, but all of that doesn't just get, the problem is the abuse, not Diana Nye, you know what I'm, like, she's batshit, and she's accomplished stuff, and she's this role, I don't think she's a role model, because, I mean, I don't know, complicated stuff, but but again, I did write about it in the review, summer issue, and I was just giving a nod to the rigor and training of the editors at the review, and basically academic writing and editing, and just what an art form that is, because I had never been edited by the editors I work with, the place I work with, and it's kind of the only place that does that. Anyway, Naiad in the movie, if anyone's seen the movie Naiad, she quotes Mary Oliver, and it's all about this, your one precious life, this stuff, and they never address in the movie that Mary Oliver too was sexually abused when she was a child by her father. Like, it just is everywhere. It's a real problem that's sort of overcoming it is romanticized. It's like, no, it just shouldn't happen. Like, come on. And so, I wish the filmmakers had both focused on the kind of the nature of why she's driven to both do insane, very dangerous, incredibly brave things, but also the nature of the abuse and the abuse of the person that she is kind of quoting from throughout the whole movie. Benning was great. Jodie Foster was great. But I had problems with the movie. Any other questions?
Kind of felt like you were swimming it with her, didn't you? Is there any more questions?
John? Oh, sorry. Maybe two.
Talked about this a little bit, but I've worked as an artist for 20 years. Prior to that, I was a competitive golfer.
Oh, yeah.
And people always ask me, I play once or twice a year now. And people ask me, don't you miss it? And the answer is, yes, I miss it. But what I miss doesn't exist, which partly has to do with my skill, and it partly has to do with culture.
Yeah.
But I'm at peace with that. So I wonder, for you, having stopped swimming,
Yeah.
do you miss it? And what is your relationship to that feeling?
Right. Okay, so Painter John Brooks is asking, do you miss the sport as he was a golfer? I don't know if I'll be able to explain this, but I try to get the feeling I had when I was a swimmer, when I write and when I paint.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Do you know what I mean? Just a certain confidence, flow, effortlessness, all of those things. Zone, yeah, it's a zone. I mean, it's so fun to find artists who both are embodied somehow or have run or work out or are former athletes. Like, it's I think Matthew Barney played football, and Orozco, all of his stuff. There's this a very interesting intersection that is, fascinating to me. One more question.
I do have a question.
Okay.
Thank you. So you're a swimmer. We're a swimmer.
Yeah.
That's the story. And what made you decide that you had to write this book? And maybe I'll know once I read the book, which I can't wait. But
Yeah, you know what? It's so weird and simple. I wanted to see it. I loved how the subculture of swimming looked, and I wanted it to be a movie. I don't know anything about making a film, so I wrote this so I could understand how I saw it. And then I had made books before that were a little bit more experimental, sort of a graphic novel about jealousy, and then this book about. And so it really wasn't expected from my publishers to write something this proseful, this wordy. So this was a real experiment, and it started from the visual medium. I saw Downhill Racer, which is this incredible sports film. Robert Redford, Gene Hackman. I am stupidly forgetting the director. James Salter was the screenwriter, and it's one of the best sports movies I've ever seen. And I thought, but the incredible, weird, lunar realm of water and swimming. And so that was my attempt to just, and it, maybe someday. But that was the.
And how long did it take you to write?
Let's see. I did that like Gotham Writers Workshop thing because I really didn't know how to write. Probably about 4 years. Yeah, a while. Started in little pieces, little tiny. 2000. Oh no, maybe 3 years. 3 years. Sorry. Yeah, 2009. I think I started, or 10, maybe 2 years. I don't know. Yeah, I can't remember. Yeah, 2 years. 2 years. 2 years. Yeah.
Former swimmer, and I'm not writing about swimming, but I'm in the middle of my book, or in the weeds of my book. So
Yeah.
I'm curious, but you have to have a motivation to write this book, right? And
What's yours?
motivation to swim, right?
What's your motivation?
To write my book? Oh gosh, I'm hot seat here. To
Sorry.
encourage people that life is so much more interesting when you leave the familiar cul-de-sac of your lives and explore beyond. So it's to encourage people to say, what am I going to do now? My kids are gone. I guess I'll take pick up golf or I'll take cruises and
Mm.
wait for my grandchildren to come, but it's not about that. We're just getting started.
Mm. Transitions. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Maybe one more
Thank
round
you.
of applause.
Oh.